Hello and thanks for joining me, your sport pilot James Lulon, on another exciting episode of Sport Vibe on DNTWOK. We'll bring you exciting and latest sport happenings across the world of sport every Tuesday. This week won't be an exception, so I would implore you to please stay tuned because we'll be right back shortly after this break. Welcome back. It's a beautiful Tuesday starting from the world of football, particularly in the Premier League. We talk about Nottingham Forest, who are not taking the feet off the pedal in the Premier League this season as they go level with Arsenal on points in the Premier League right now. You remember that they were able to defeat the relegation struggling side Southampton 3-2 during the weekend, and Nottingham Forest are occupying the Champions League spot in the Premier League right now, having been able to go 8 matches unbeaten in the Premier League. They are on the same point with Arsenal Football Club as they mount pressure on Liverpool at the top of the Premier League tables. Has been an interesting outing for the Nuno Espirito Santos side, Nottingham Forest in the Premier League. I talk about their striker Wood, who has also found the back of the net during the weekend against the relegation side Southampton, and also is still in the Premier League. We talk about an incredible match that we watched during the weekend in the Premier League between Bournemouth and Newcastle, where Bournemouth were able to defeat Newcastle to end their unbeaten run in the Premier League. Remember that Newcastle has had a fine form since the beginning of the year in the Premier League, but Bournemouth was able to put an end to it after defeating Newcastle 4-1 at their home field in the Premier League. It was a sad one for Newcastle being defeated 4-1, but you can take nothing away from Bournemouth, who have been in incredible form also, having been able to defeat Newcastle. This means that they have had 10 matches unbeaten in the Premier League this season. Bournemouth are fighting for the European spot in the world of football, and let's see if they'll be able to get that, particularly after being able to defeat Newcastle during the weekend in the world of football. Another interesting one in the world of football during the weekend and in the Premier League is Tottenham being defeated by Everton. David Moyes' side was able to defeat Tottenham Hotspur, the Ange Postecoglou side. Remember, Postecoglou said in his second season in charge of clubs, he usually win trophy. It does not look like so in the Premier League right now, as they were defeated by Everton during the weekend 3-2. Coming from behind to salvage the situation, but they were unable to do that and get the maximum point, but they could only settle for 2 goals, and this means that Everton have been able to get their first win under David Moyes in a long while. Remember that David Moyes was once in charge of Everton in the year 2013 and back to the Premier League, defeating Tottenham Hotspur. Another interesting one in the Premier League as we switch to the league leaders. We talk about Liverpool. Remember that Liverpool were able to play a draw with Nottingham Forest, but Liverpool has continued to lead in the Premier League this season as they move to the top of the Premier League with 6 points clear after being able to defeat Brentford during the weekend. It was a late drama in that match where we saw Darwin Núñez scoring a brace to help Liverpool extend their lead at the top of the Premier League. Quite an interesting outing for Liverpool, and what a season that they are having in the Premier League. Who will be stopping Liverpool this season in the Premier League? Will Arsenal be able to do that, or will Nottingham Forest be doing the Leicester, helping us win the Premier League this season to defeat Liverpool and stun Manchester City in the Premier League this season? Quickly, let's switch our attention to the Italian Serie A before we go on the break. You remember that the Italian Serie A was an interesting one too during the weekend, where we saw Napoli taking on Atalanta. These rivals are at the top of the Serie A table and taking on each other. It was a battle between them, as we saw Napoli being able to defeat Atalanta 3-2, where we saw Ademola Lookman scoring an equalizer, but Romelu Lukaku decided that the Napoli side will have to go with the maximum points to remain at the top of the Serie A table. Napoli are at the top of the Serie A table right now, and they are followed closely by Inter Milan, who have a game in hand. Quite an interesting one in the Italian Serie A. But permit me to go on a very short break, and when we're right back, we continue from where we stop.
JK Royal Signatures, a blend of African fabric.
Welcome back, and continuing from where we stopped in the Italian Serie A. You remember I said that Inter Milan are sitting at the second position, where Atalanta dropped points with Napoli during the weekend, and this means that Napoli are currently sitting at the top of the Italian Serie A. And permit me to talk about Juventus and AC Milan, where Juventus were able to defeat AC Milan in the Italian Serie A 2-0. You remember that AC Milan were able to defeat Juventus in the semi-finals of the Super Italian to proceed to the final that they were able to win. But this time around in the Italian Serie A, Juventus were able to defeat AC Milan to put an edge in their Champions League spot. They are fighting to occupy the Champions League spot this season, and they are doing it very well. Remember that they have played so many matches, draws in the Italian Serie A, but this time around they were able to defeat AC Milan, who defeated them in the semi-finals of the Super Italian. Also, quickly, let's switch our attention to the Spanish La Liga, talking about an incredible one that happened during the weekend, where we saw Real Madrid taking advantage of the loss of Barcelona and also of Atletico Madrid. Remember that Atletico Madrid lost a match to Leganes, and after a draw with Getafe, Real Madrid was able to win their own match, and they are currently at the top of the Spanish La Liga right now. Who would have thought Real Madrid would be at the top of the Spanish La Liga with the form that they have in all competition? Remember that Barcelona were able to defeat them back-to-back in the Spanish Super Cup, and also defeating them in the La Liga this season. But Barcelona right now are sitting at the third position in the Spanish La Liga. Is a sad one for Barcelona, but an interesting one for the Real Madrid side, as Real Madrid is sitting in the first position with 46 points, and Atletico Madrid sitting second with 44 points in the Spanish La Liga. An interesting outing for them in the Spanish La Liga. And also, let's switch our attention and travel down to the League World, where we talk about Paris Saint-Germain, the team that are struggling in the Champions League, but they were able to get the signature of the Georgian striker, where you talk about Kvaratskhelia. He has been able to sign for Paris Saint-Germain, and Paris Saint-Germain right now are sitting comfortably at the top of the League One, after Marseille could only get a draw during the weekend. And as we all know, the Champions League football will be back, and Paris Saint-Germain will be taking on Manchester City in the Champions League game that will be taking place this week. Is going to be an interesting one to watch for, because you know that Paris Saint-Germain needs to get back to their winning ways if they are going to proceed to the knockout phase of the Champions League. And Manchester City also need a win, but Manchester City, who are back to an incredible form, will be able to see if they will be stunning Paris Saint-Germain this time around, and we'll be seeing Kvaratskhelia playing his first match for Paris Saint-Germain. And quickly, let's switch our attention and travel down to the Bundesliga, where we talk about Bayern Leverkusen and Bayern Munich. Remember that Bayern Leverkusen were the one that were able to win the Bundesliga last season. They are not taking their eyes off the prize, though currently they are sitting in the second position in the Bundesliga, with Bayern Munich ahead of them with 4 points. They are sitting in the second position, and they are mounting and putting pressure on Bayern Munich, who, if they sleep, they could be hoping to do the double and win the Bundesliga this season. The Sabi Alonso's side in the Bundesliga are not sleeping, and they are not taking their eyes of the prize in the Bundesliga this season. And back to the Premier League, we talk about Manchester City, who are back to their winning ways, and they did that dominantly after they were able to defeat Ipswich 6-0 in the Premier League during the weekend. Manchester City are back within the Champions League and the European football. Will they be able to get and cement their side in the Champions League side in the Premier League this season? There's still a long way to go after 22 matches has been played in the Premier League this season. But we can't say the same thing for Manchester United, who had failed to get out of the bottom half of the Premier League as they sit in the 13th position this season. The 13th position has looked to be the favorite for Manchester United this season under Ruben Amorim. They were defeated yet again by Brighton and Hove Albion. Brighton and Hove Albion were able to do the double against Manchester United, and the match during the weekend means that they have had 3 matches being won at Old Trafford in the history of the Premier League against Manchester United. The only team that has been able to win 3 matches in a row in Old Trafford has been their rival Manchester City, but Brighton and Hove Albion under Fabian Hosler was able to defeat Manchester United, and Ruben Amorim has said probably this is the worst team that Manchester United has paraded in the history of the club. What is the way forward for Manchester United as Manchester City has found back their rhythm in the world of football? It's going to be an interesting weekend and an interesting midweek for football lovers across the world, as we'll be witnessing the UEFA Champions League. We'll be seeing the Europa League played during the midweek, and also be experiencing an interesting weekend in the world of football. But till then, I'll be imploring you to please stay safe and remain a law-abiding citizen, as this is the length at which we'll be going on this week of Sport Vibe on DNTWOK. Thank you and remain blessed.